I'm sure we could all agree that Jesus teaches us by his words what he says. But Jesus also, of course, teaches us by his actions, by watching what he does. Interesting moment in this gospel. You know, if you caught the context, it goes back to last week. Jesus had sent out the disciples to preach and to heal, and they had gone out, and now today you hear about them coming back. They had had a great success. And Jesus says to them, that's terrific, you need a break. You need a break, let's take a break, let's go and rest a while. You know, if you think about it, Jesus is just really honoring the spirit of the commandment about the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, work 6 days, take a day off. Jesus knows that this is important. This is an important value. The guys need to take a break, guys need the rest. And yet, you know, just a matter of a few hours later, when they get to what they thought was going to be a deserted place, there are this huge crowd there. And Jesus now has got a different value that has confronted him, the needs of all these people. He describes it as sheep without a shepherd. And so in that moment, he changes and he says, all right, this value, they're both important. Rest is important. Helping these people is important. And in this moment, I'm going to choose to help these people. This idea where two very important things, valuable things, bump up against each other, this is not the only example of this in Jesus' life. Many of you remember the stories where Jesus heals on the Sabbath. Sabbath law matters. Jesus obeyed the Sabbath law. You're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, and healing is work. Everybody knew that. But there were these moments where Jesus was also confronted with a particular person who had a great need. And Jesus thought in those moments, well, Sabbath matters, rules matter. This person, their need matters. And they bump up against each other, and he goes with the people. He chooses to heal them. Many of you remember the story of the woman caught in adultery. Adultery is a sin. We think of it as a mortal sin. That's how we would express it in that day and age. That was a major violation of Jewish law. It's punishable by death. Everybody knew that. Jesus believed that. That's all right. That's important. But Jesus is also confronted with a person who needs forgiveness and love. And so, what do you do? And Jesus, in that moment, decides for the woman. He doesn't excuse her adultery, mind you. He doesn't tell her, oh, well, just don't worry about it. You know, he tells her very clearly, don't be doing this again. But he forgives her. I just wondered if you could think of the instances in your life where this happens, where you have two things that are awfully important and they just collide, and you got to pick between them. I mean, those of you that are parents, or maybe you remember this as a parent, you know, you've made a promise to your son, your daughter, you're going to be at their event, their sporting event, their whatever extracurricular activity it is. You're going to be there because it's important. That's a value. You want to support your kid. You want to show that you care. Your presence matters. And then at work, it just all blows up on you, and you find out that, I can't leave work. And work matters, my career matters, all that stuff. Well, what do you do? What do you do? Or, you can take, social justice issues. Immigration is probably the best example of this. I mean, there are laws about immigration. There should be laws about immigration. That matters. That's important. But you got to remember that anybody that, is dealing with immigration is a person. They're made in the image likeness of God, and they have, that dignity matters. And what do you do about that? How do you put those two things together? Or take an example that's come up a couple times in the last few years, and again, just last night after I brought this up. You get an invitation to a wedding, which is lovely, except the invitation is to a same-sex wedding. And the invitation is coming from someone who's important to you, a son, a daughter, a nephew, something like that. And you want to, like, oh, I don't know, because if I go, my presence there, does that convey to anybody that I approve of this? When I don't, like I want to hold on to my understanding of marriage. That's important. But at the same time, like, it's your son, your daughter, your nephew, whatever it is, that relationship, that matters. What do you do? I cannot give you specific answers to those particular issues or pretty much any other. Because I think in many of those cases, the details matter. Your specific circumstances, who are you talking about, what's going on, who's going to be there, all that stuff, that matters, which means that the burden is on you and I to discern. You and I need to take this to prayer. So you get in a situation where just, things bump against each other in those moments. You and I need to be in prayer and just pour it out to the good Lord. Look, I know this matters. I know this matters. Tell me in this moment, what am I supposed to do? Which matters more right now? And as you're discerning, of course, you're going to want to listen to people. You're going to want to get some advice. That's a wonderful way to discern. The good Lord can talk to other people. I just would warn you, do be careful that you're not getting your advice, if you will, you're not getting your suggestions from someone who is not willing to acknowledge that these two things are colliding. In other words, if you go on, the web and you go on YouTube and you listen to somebody and all they want to do is talk about rules. It's rules. It's rules. And if you break those rules, there are consequences to the rules, and that is all they pound. You're listening to the Pharisees. That's what they did in Jesus' day. That's what Jesus was always pushing up against. They're not willing to acknowledge, the woman caught in adultery. They brought her to Jesus. They just wanted to kill her. That was the bottom line. They didn't care about her at all. And maybe in that moment, I don't know, maybe in some circumstances, the rules are the most important thing, but you have to acknowledge this. And so if you're listening to someone who's not willing to acknowledge both sides, you're not listening to the good Lord. You're listening to somebody else. And by the way, that same thing would be true if you're listening to someone who is on the other extreme, who's saying to you, rules, who cares? They don't really matter. It's all about love. We need to love our neighbor. Like, if you listen to someone who's telling you that all the time, you're not doing yourself any better. You need to talk to people. You need to struggle with this for what it is. It's two very important things that are colliding. And you need to take it to the Lord in prayer. And just keep in mind, it's not hard. If you find yourself in this situation, God wants you to do the right thing. And so He is going to help you to do it. And so if you and I, all we have to do is take it to prayer, do our best. It's why learning to discern matters so much. Take it to God. It's like I'm stuck at work and my kid needs me at this game. What do I do? Maybe you don't have too long to discern in that case. You get the invitation to the wedding. Maybe you got weeks and months to figure it out. But whatever it is, just take it to God. It's like, I'm stuck. I know you tell me this is important. I know you tell me this is important. Which is more important now? You'll figure it out. You will. You'll figure it out. Especially if you tune in and pay attention to Jesus. Just keep your focus there. Please don't be focusing on somebody on YouTube who's ranting and raving. That's not where you want to be. Just take it to prayer. Listen to Jesus. You'll get it right.